Welcome back, everyone. We're starting today's video strong, and trust me, this first coin deserves your full attention. Our number one and top coin of today isn't gold, isn't ancient, and doesn't look impressive at first glance. It's a simple US 1-cent penny from 1968. A coin so ordinary that millions of people have held one without ever stopping to think twice. Yet this specific penny carries a story so powerful that it completely changes how we look at spare change. Take a moment to imagine the world in 1968. America was living through one of its most intense chapters. The news was filled with images of protests, social movements, and a war that divided opinions across the nation. Families gathered around television sets every evening, unsure of what tomorrow would bring. Amid all this uncertainty, daily life still had to go on. People still bought groceries, paid bus fares, and dropped coins into cash registers. And right there, quietly moving from hand to hand, was the 1968 penny, doing its job unnoticed. This penny didn't arrive with fanfare. It didn't come wrapped in ceremony. It was mass-produced, stacked in bags, and shipped out across the country by the millions. The U.S. Mint was working at full speed, under pressure to keep coins flowing through the economy. Demand was high, machines were running non-stop, and precision had to be maintained at incredible speeds. That environment is exactly where legends are born, not intentionally, but by chance. On the front of the coin, Abraham Lincoln's face appears calm and steady. By 1968, Americans had been seeing this same portrait for nearly 60 years. It had become more than a design, it was a symbol. Lincoln represented unity, resilience, and leadership during hardship, and those qualities felt especially meaningful during that era. The date, 1968, sits quietly beside him, offering no clue that it would one day be associated with one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. Above Lincoln, the words, "In God We Trust," stretch across the coin. In a time filled with fear, hope, anger, and change, that phrase resonated deeply, even if people didn't consciously think about it while making a purchase. To most, this penny was just money. To history, it was a silent witness. Flip the coin over, and the Lincoln Memorial stands proudly at the center. Introduced less than a decade earlier, this reverse design was still relatively fresh. The monument's columns are crisp, balanced, and dignified. Inside, almost hidden unless you look very closely, is the tiny seated statue of Lincoln. It's a detail so small that many people never realize it's there at all. This subtle complexity adds to the coin's quiet beauty and craftsmanship. But what truly sets certain 1968 pennies apart isn't the design, it's the moment they were made. That year marked an important shift at the U.S. Mint. After removing mint marks earlier in the decade, they were brought back in 1968. This meant pennies were again being struck at different facilities, each using its own equipment and processes. Philadelphia produced coins without a mint mark, while Denver and San Francisco added their own identifying letters. With multiple mints operating at full speed, slight variations and errors became inevitable. Dies wore down. Alignments shifted. Pressure changed. Most coins came out exactly as planned, but a tiny fraction did not. And when a coin leaves the mint with something just a little bit different, it becomes something entirely new in the eyes of collectors. Some 1968 pennies show subtle doubling in the lettering or date. Others have alignment issues so small they require magnification to see. A few were struck under unusual conditions that affected their surface texture or sharpness. These aren't mistakes that jump out immediately. They're the kind of differences that reward patience, knowledge, and a careful eye. Then there's condition, the factor that separates valuable coins from legendary ones. Most pennies from 1968 lived hard lives. They clinked against other coins, slid across countertops, bounced on pavement, and sat in damp jars for decades. Every scrape, every mark, every dull spot reduced their future value. But a tiny number escaped that fate. Somehow, against all odds, they remained nearly perfect. As time passed, collectors began to notice. Reports surfaced. Certification numbers appeared. Word spread quietly at first, then faster. When one of these exceptional 1968 pennies entered the auction world, attention followed instantly. Experts examined it carefully, documenting every detail. Collectors prepared themselves, knowing that opportunities like this don't come often. When the auction begins, the atmosphere changes. Bids start cautiously, then rise with confidence. Numbers climb higher than most people would ever imagine for a penny. Each bid represents passion, competition, and respect for history. What was once ignored now commands the spotlight. And then comes the moment that redefines everything. The final bid is placed. The room holds its breath. The hammer falls. That 1968 US 1-cent penny, small, copper, and once worth just a single cent, sells for an incredible $107,000. One coin. 1 cent. $107,000. Moving on to the next featured coin in today's video, we're focusing on a penny connected to a year that instantly sparks recognition, 1976. This was the bicentennial year, when the entire nation paused to celebrate 200 years of independence. Everything felt historic. Cities hosted massive events, schools taught special lessons, families collected memorabilia, and a strong sense of national pride flowed through everyday life. Red, white, and blue seemed to be everywhere. In the background of all this celebration, everyday money continued moving through stores, banks, and pockets, including the 1976 D. Lincoln penny that would one day stand out in a way no one expected. The Denver Mint played a major role during this period. Production demands were intense, and efficiency mattered more than ever. Coins had to be produced quickly and in huge quantities to support increased economic activity tied to travel, events, and daily commerce. Machines ran at relentless speeds, striking coins hour after hour, day after day. When production reaches that scale, consistency becomes a challenge. Even the smallest variation in pressure, alignment, or timing can leave behind subtle differences that most people would never notice. The overwhelming majority of 1976 D pennies blended together, identical and unremarkable. They were spent, stacked, and circulated without a second thought. But a very small number carried something different, something that quietly set them apart. These differences weren't intentional, and they weren't dramatic. They existed at a level only careful observation could uncover. This particular 1976 D penny gained attention because it showed a distinctive production trait that separated it from standard examples of the year. It wasn't flashy. It didn't jump out immediately. It was the kind of difference that required patience, experience, and a trained eye to recognize. Specialists who examined it closely realized that it didn't match what was normally expected from a Denver-struck penny in 1976. That single realization completely changed how the coin was viewed. What makes this coin even more compelling is the journey it took after leaving the mint. Most pennies from that year were heavily used throughout the late 1970s and well into the decades that followed. They passed through countless hands, were stored carelessly, and picked up marks along the way. This one somehow avoided that fate. It wasn't subjected to constant handling. It didn't lose its sharpness. It didn't fade into the background like so many others. Instead, it survived in a state that preserved its original character. The surfaces remained clean and consistent. The details stayed bold and well-defined. Because of that preservation, the coin's unusual production traits remained clearly visible even decades later, allowing experts to study and confirm what made it special. As time went on, collectors began paying closer attention to coins from the bicentennial era. Interest grew as people realized that not every valuable coin needs a special design to be important. The more this 1976 D penny was studied, the more its differences stood out. When placed side by side with ordinary examples, the contrast became impossible to ignore. Its condition, combined with its unique characteristics, placed it far above the vast majority of coins from the same year and mint. Another layer of fascination comes from the expectations surrounding 1976 coins. With so many produced during such a high-profile year, rarity was the last thing anyone anticipated. That's exactly why this penny captures so much attention. It challenges assumptions. It proves that even during periods of massive production and national celebration, exceptional pieces can still slip through unnoticed. Collectors are drawn to coins like this because they represent moments when everything aligned perfectly. The right year, tied to history. The right mint, operating at full capacity. The right production conditions, creating something slightly different. And then, against all odds, the right preservation. That combination is extremely rare, especially for a coin that was never meant to stand out. Over time, recognition of this 1976 D penny continued to grow. Its reputation strengthened as more people understood just how limited these examples truly were. It became a reference point, proof that value isn't always about dramatic changes or flashy designs, but about subtle details and survival against probability. Collectors often describe coins like this as reminders to slow down and look closer. What appears common can sometimes hold hidden importance. What seems ordinary can quietly become extraordinary. This penny embodies that idea perfectly, carrying both historical context and unexpected rarity in one small piece of copper. And now comes the part that truly shifts perspective. This 1976 D. Lincoln penny, created during America's bicentennial year and preserved with extraordinary care, reached a value of $70,000. So if you ever come across a 1976 D penny, don't dismiss it as just another piece of loose change. Take a moment to look a little closer, because coins from historic years sometimes carry details that aren't immediately obvious. A small difference, an unusual characteristic, or exceptional preservation can completely change its story. Top 3 on today's list takes us to a coin that might seem completely ordinary at first glance, but for collectors, it's an intriguing and highly sought-after piece, the 1983 D. Lincoln penny. On the surface, it looks like just another penny from the early 1980s, small, copper-colored, familiar to every American who grew up carrying coins in their pockets. But don't be fooled. This penny hides a story that makes it stand out, combining rarity, condition, and unusual production quirks that transform it from everyday change into a collectible treasure. The 1983 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the busiest minting facilities in the country. By this point, the U.S. Mint had fully transitioned from the traditional 95% copper composition to a mostly zinc core with a thin copper plating. This switch was primarily economic, pennies were cheaper to make, but it also introduced new challenges in the production process. Coins could show imperfections like surface inconsistencies, small die cracks, or even striking errors that were less common with older, solid copper pennies. For the casual spender, these anomalies might go unnoticed, but for a collector, they represent an opportunity to uncover something rare. During this time, the Denver Mint was producing millions of pennies a day, meaning that the vast majority of 1983 D pennies circulated heavily. They passed through cash registers, wallets, coin jars, and parking meters, rubbing against countless other coins along the way. Over time, most lost their luster, and the crisp details of Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks or shield on the reverse became worn down. That's what makes surviving specimens in exceptional condition so fascinating. A 1983 D penny that retains its sharp details, smooth surfaces, and original color is unusual and far more interesting than the average coin found in circulation. What makes this penny particularly special are the subtle production characteristics that only careful examination can reveal. Some examples show doubling of letters or numbers, slight misalignment of the strike, or variations in the thickness of the copper plating over the zinc core. These errors are not dramatic, but they are enough to distinguish one coin from millions of ordinary ones. A trained eye can detect them, and that alone elevates a simple penny into a collectible piece. Another aspect to consider is the historical context. The early 1980s were a transitional period in American coinage. Rising metal prices, changes in minting technology, and new economic pressures all played a role in shaping how coins were made. The 1983 D penny, with its zinc core, reflects a moment when the mint was adjusting to new materials while continuing to meet massive production demands. Errors, subtle variations, and high-quality survivors from this period serve as a reminder of how even everyday coins can carry unique stories. Collectors also value this coin because of the story it tells about survival. Most pennies from 1983 were heavily handled, stored in jars, or lost over the years. A 1983 D that survived in excellent condition likely spent very little time in circulation, perhaps kept safely by someone who recognized its potential or simply didn't use it. That combination of rarity, preservation, and subtle error makes it a coin that's worth closer inspection. So if you ever come across a 1983 D penny, don't dismiss it as just loose change. Take a moment to examine it carefully under good light. Look for sharp details in Lincoln's portrait, check the edges and surfaces for unusual features, and consider whether it has subtle doubling or irregularities. Its rarity, exceptional condition, and potential for rare errors mean it could be a valuable coin in disguise. What seems ordinary at first could very well turn out to be an extraordinary piece of history hiding in plain sight. Even decades later, the 1983 D Lincoln penny continues to capture the attention of collectors and enthusiasts alike. It serves as a perfect reminder that value isn't always about flashy designs or dramatic changes. Sometimes, it's about the small details, the careful preservation, and the luck of survival. This penny embodies all of that, quietly holding a story that few ordinary coins can tell. For anyone interested in coins, it's a reminder to look closer, appreciate the subtleties, and recognize that sometimes the most unassuming coins can be the most intriguing. It's also a reminder that coins are not just currency, they are miniature time capsules. Every scratch, every mark, every anomaly tells part of a story about the era in which it was made. A coin like the 1983 D connects us to history in a tangible way, bridging decades and letting us hold a small piece of the past in our hands. For collectors, this adds an emotional and historical dimension beyond its potential monetary value. So before you spend that 1983 D penny, or even toss it into a jar, give it a second look. Its rarity, condition, and rare production characteristics could make it far more than just another penny. It could be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. And that's exactly why it earns its spot as the third coin in today's lineup, proving that even small change can sometimes tell a big story. Now, let's move on to a coin that has captured the attention of collectors around the world, a 2004 penny that has become legendary for its rarity and uniqueness. This isn't just any penny, it's a coin that carries with it a story of a minting anomaly, meticulous preservation, and astonishing value. What makes this coin so remarkable is the combination of a tiny production error and pristine condition, a pairing that turns an ordinary 1-cent piece into a treasure unlike any other. This particular 2004 penny was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and it belongs to a very small group of coins that exhibit a rare minting anomaly. During the minting process, the planchet, essentially the blank piece of copper, passed through the press in a way that produced subtle but significant differences in the final coin. Most pennies produced that year were uniform and followed exact specifications, but this coin slipped through the system with a characteristic that immediately sets it apart from every other penny in circulation. It's the kind of detail that only a trained eye can detect, yet its presence transforms the coin into a collector's prize. The anomaly is not dramatic, but it is precise. It lies in the alignment of the design, the placement of the mint mark, and the subtle interaction between the dies and the planchet. These details might seem minute to someone unfamiliar with numismatics, but to collectors, they are the defining traits of rarity. Every coin has a story written in metal, and this penny tells a tale of an unintended strike that became a highly coveted artifact. The rarity of this coin is amplified by its scarcity. Only a handful of these pennies exist, preserved in almost perfect condition. They were never meant to stand out, yet they have become some of the most sought-after modern coins in the numismatic world. Their scarcity creates a sense of exclusivity, a feeling that owning one is like possessing a secret that few others will ever know. This exclusivity drives demand, and with demand comes extraordinary value. Collectors are drawn not only to the rarity but also to the coin's condition. The copper retains its original sheen, the details remain sharp, and there is no evidence of circulation. In numismatics, condition is crucial. Even minor scratches, discoloration, or wear can significantly reduce a coin's worth. The 2004 penny we are discussing has survived the years in near-perfect state, making it even more extraordinary. It's a pristine example of what can happen when chance, preservation, and craftsmanship intersect. What is also fascinating is that this coin represents a modern anomaly. Rare coins are often associated with the distant past, with centuries-old minting techniques that were imperfect and inconsistent. This penny proves that even in an era of advanced technology and strict quality control, mistakes can occur, and when they do, they can create something exceptional. The story of this coin is proof that rarity and intrigue are not confined to history books, they can appear in coins produced just a few decades ago. The appeal of this coin extends beyond numbers and condition, it lies in its story. Imagine the moment it was created. A blank copper planchet passes through the press at the Philadelphia Mint, and in a fleeting instant, an anomaly occurs. The coin emerges perfectly struck in all visible ways, yet subtly different from every other penny minted that year. It enters circulation, unnoticed by the public, until someone with a trained eye discovers its uniqueness. That discovery transforms the coin from an ordinary piece of currency into a rare and highly desirable collectible. Collectors also value the human connection in coins like this one. There is a sense that the coin carries a narrative, a moment frozen in time that links the mint workers who struck it, the collector who first spotted it, and those who have preserved it since. This coin is not just metal, it is a story of chance, preservation, and recognition. Owning it is about more than having a rare coin, it's about participating in the legacy of its journey from the mint to private collections. Another layer of its appeal is the careful verification and authentication that accompanies coins of this rarity. Experts examine the coin, noting its unique characteristics, verifying that it is indeed part of the limited batch, and ensuring that it has been preserved in the best possible condition. This authentication process confirms the coin's rarity and sets it apart from ordinary 2004 pennies, making it a legitimate collectible of immense value. For collectors, this verification is critical. It is the difference between a coin that is merely unusual and a coin that is historically and financially significant. The excitement around this coin is also fueled by the challenge of discovering one. Unlike coins with obvious design errors or low mintages, the 2004 penny's anomaly is subtle. Spotting it requires expertise, attention to detail, and an understanding of minting processes. That challenge adds to its allure. There is a thrill in knowing that only a few people in the world fully appreciate the significance of the coin you hold. This sense of discovery and accomplishment is part of why collectors prize it so highly. And now, after all the details, the rarity, the preservation, and the intrigue, it's time for the reveal. The 2004 penny, with its minting anomaly and pristine condition, has a coin value of $35,000. That is right, a 1-cent piece, barely the size of a fingernail, holds a value that is beyond what most people would ever expect. It is a testament to the power of rarity, condition, and narrative, proof that even the smallest objects can carry immense significance. In the last part of our penny journey, we come across a coin that might seem completely ordinary, a 2016 penny. But as with many pennies, the real story lies in the details. This particular coin carries subtle characteristics that make it intriguing to collectors and numismatists alike, revealing how even recent coins can hold layers of history, design, and craftsmanship that often go unnoticed. The 2016 penny was minted during a time when the United States Mint was experimenting with precision strikes and refining the production process. While the design itself remains familiar, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, the quality and consistency of the coin struck that year are noteworthy. Every line, every curve, and every letter reflects a remarkable level of detail, a testament to the mint's dedication to maintaining both artistry and technical excellence. What makes this 2016 penny interesting is not a dramatic error, but the subtle intricacies that collectors look for when assessing modern coins. From the depth of the relief to the sharpness of the lettering, each feature provides insight into the careful engineering behind the coin. Even slight variations in the strike, metal composition, or finish can tell a story about how it was produced and the processes involved at the mint. For someone who studies coins closely, these small details make the 2016 penny a fascinating piece to examine. Another aspect that draws attention is the coin's condition. Many 2016 pennies have circulated widely, showing wear and tear from daily use. However, some coins were carefully preserved from the moment they left the mint, maintaining a luster and detail that make them particularly interesting to collectors. Observing a coin in this state allows you to appreciate the artistry of the Lincoln Memorial and the precision of the mint's production, a level of craftsmanship that is often overlooked in everyday use. Even though this is a modern penny, it also offers a connection to the broader story of American coinage. Each penny carries the legacy of design evolution, technological improvement, and minting techniques that have been refined over centuries. By studying a coin like the 2016 penny, collectors gain a deeper understanding of how these small pieces of metal reflect not only history but also innovation in minting and production methods. The beauty of the 2016 penny lies in its simplicity and accessibility. While it may not have the dramatic rarity of older or rarer coins, it represents a moment in time, a snapshot of the mint's work and the care taken to produce something consistent and enduring. It is a reminder that every coin, no matter how recent, has a story to tell, and that even the most familiar objects can offer a glimpse into history when examined closely. What makes this penny particularly enjoyable for collectors and enthusiasts is the challenge of finding examples that are exceptionally well struck. The subtle differences in the metal finish, the alignment of the mint mark, and the crispness of the design make each coin unique in its own way. For those who appreciate coins, even modern pennies like the 2016 issue provide a satisfying opportunity to study, compare, and preserve a small but meaningful piece of numismatic history. In examining this coin, you can see how careful preservation enhances its appeal. The sharpness of the details, the clarity of Lincoln's profile, and the pristine condition of the reverse design all serve as a reminder of the mint's precision and the potential for modern coins to be collected and treasured. Even without rarity or extraordinary errors, this penny is a testament to the skill and consistency that goes into creating each coin, and it serves as a modern link in the long chain of American coinage. There is also a quiet elegance to the 2016 penny, a subtle beauty that can only be appreciated when held and examined closely. Its uniform finish, smooth edges, and well-defined relief reflect the careful attention of mint workers and the technological advances of modern production. Collectors often find that coins like this inspire a deeper respect for the everyday objects we tend to overlook. It reminds us that even the most common coins carry stories of design, effort, and history that deserve attention. Each glance at the coin can reveal something new, a minor variation in strike, a difference in luster, or the way light plays across the surface, making the experience of collecting modern pennies both fascinating and rewarding. Finally, the 2016 penny is a celebration of what coin collecting can be, an appreciation for the details, an understanding of history, and a connection to the craftsmanship behind objects that are often taken for granted. Holding this coin allows collectors to see the evolution of design and production up close, and to recognize the effort and artistry that go into every strike. It may be the last penny in our series, but its story is a perfect reminder that even the most recent coins have their own unique charm and significance, waiting to be discovered by those who look a little closer. If you enjoyed exploring these fascinating pennies and discovering the hidden stories behind them, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community of coin enthusiasts. Your support means a lot, and it helps us bring more amazing finds and insights straight to you.